here's a teacher right now that's on this YouTube channel. I guess they're trying to have some advocacy for pushing different new ideologies for racist stuff and CRT and whatnot. But she's basically reading this what is supposed to be a kid's book, and you can tell just on the face of it all of the problems that are in it.
So then, what is white privilege? White privilege is when people who are white have additional benefits, advantages, and fewer barriers to overcome than people of color. People of color are folks with black or brown skin, or of a specific race or ethnicity. That doesn't mean that if you're white you aren't talented or smart or your life is easy. It means that you have extra privileges just because of the color of your skin. Really? Yes, really. So, what are some of those advantages? Sometimes they're small. And sometimes they're really big. Like the privilege of always seeing people who look like you in books and movies. That might seem like no big deal, but imagine if no one looked like you in your favorite movie. Wouldn't that make you feel left out or sad? Or it can be in the people who are usually in charge, like teachers, your parents' boss, and presidents. Those people are usually white. This is probably something you've never really thought about. That's okay. But don't you often wonder why those people are often white and not another color? White privilege could also be in things you don't have to worry about, that people of color do. Like feeling unsafe when you walk past a police officer. Having people assume you're bad at something because of your skin color. Easily finding a Band-Aid that matches your skin tone. Or people always asking you where you're really from. These are just some of the ways that white privilege can show up without anybody noticing. In fact, part of having white privilege can mean that you don't even know you have it. The thing about white privilege is that you don't have to think about being white. This was also true of me. As a kid, I never thought about being white. I never thought that I had extra privileges. But because of my white privilege, strangers smiled at me when I walked down the street. I would get invited to more places and parties. I felt safe when out and about. I had more opportunities. People didn't look down on me. And I had a better shot at success. I had all these advantages even though I grew up without a dad, no money, and never really knew what tomorrow would look like.
So there's so many problems in this kid's book. First of all, none of these questions or the things that they bring up in this book should be things that kids should be thinking about. It really isn't. Like, let kids be kids. Like, can't we just have that be the case? But of course not. But in the book, she reads, "Don't you wonder why these people are often white and not another color?" In reference to just movies or things like that. And it's like, well, the majority of the people in the United States are white. You don't have to like that fact, but it is a fact. You know, and then they go on to say, well, you know, what would you feel like? How would you feel if you were watching your favorite movie and they're not the same color as you? I mean, am I the only one that's like wondering, like, hey, is the movie good? Is the book good? Is the product a good product? I think most of us, I speak for most normal people, that we really don't care what the race of the person is. What we want and what we're looking for is a good movie, a good product. We've all seen movies that maybe tick the boxes where they say, well, we have the token black person and we have this percentage of this and we have the exact split between men and women. We have gay, we have lesbian, all in this movie. But the story's horrible. It's a bad movie. You ticked all the boxes, but no one's enjoying it at that point because you forced it in there where it didn't really belong. Once again, shouldn't be kids' concern. Let kids be kids. You know, let them enjoy a movie. I don't understand why they can't enjoy something or why they have to be looking to see what race that person is before they can possibly enjoy it at all. That just seems ridiculous to me because you're basically disrespecting the art. It doesn't matter what you identify with who in a certain movie and whatever. It matters whether the product is actually a good product or not. They go on in the book and she says, if you feel unsafe when walking past police officers. I don't understand what she's referring to. First of all, why are you teaching this to kids? There's been several viral videos I've seen over the past year where you had young black kids running up to police officers and hugging them, and the police officers were so kind, or they're in the community helping them. How do you explain to that child that doesn't even think that way? I mean, I guess in the real sense of it, that's what the Democrats have a problem with. They don't want kids to just see and look up to police officers. I mean, when we were younger, it was like, oh, we wanted to be a firefighter or a police officer, or, a doctor, all of these things like that. They're trying to demonize all of these people at this point. They don't want kids to grow up and just have a general sense of the fact that a police officer was somebody to be looked up to. They're upset about it, so they have to tell the kids, hey, no, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't like that. You should feel unsafe for some reason. That's where we're at right now. So they go on to say, what are you going to do if you can't find this Band-Aid that matches your skin tone? Like, really? Is that where we're at right now? Nobody cares. Like, does it work properly? Does the product do what the product is supposed to do? I mean, guys, Band-Aids aren't makeup. We're not looking for 50 different shades so that you can match your exact skin tone like it's some accessory item or something that you're trying to put on so nobody really sees that it's there. Nobody cares. It's a Band-Aid. Like, it has a job and a function. Let that be the function of what it does. I really don't understand why everything has to be this way. I mean, they literally are trying to find anything they can to point to and say that this is racist. This must be deemed this way because we have determined that to be the case. They go on and she says, well, do people normally ask you where you're from, where you're really from, is what she says. Now, I've heard about this one, I think a couple of years ago, where people were literally saying that they were getting offended because somebody asked them, hey, where are you from? Or something. They were like, America. And they clearly had this very thick accent, something like that. A lot of people on LinkedIn were doing this too. They were kind of virtue signaling this way, talking about this conversation of, should you ask somebody where they're really from if you can tell that they're clearly not from the United States? And it's like, yeah, what's the problem with that? The left-wing ideology is telling you on one hand, you must be upset at that. You must get triggered. You must say, how dare you ask me that, or ask where I'm really from when I clearly do not have an American accent, when I clearly look like I'm from somewhere else. How dare you ask me that? Now, the thing is that what it's doing is automatically assuming the malice on the end of the person that's asking that question. But that's not always true. I don't even think it really ever is true. Because typically, if somebody's saying, hey, where are you really from? And they may say, well, I'm from Cuba. And they say, hey, yeah, I have family over there. That's awesome. I just traveled there last week or whatever. You don't know. You're basically chopping off connections with people, all in the name of trying not to be offended, by assuming that somebody means it in a harmful or in a negative light. And that's not true. It's not the real world. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make this the real world. And they're starting, by the way, by teaching this to kids. Keep in mind, this isn't an adult CRT book or something. This is supposed to be read to kids and children. That's what's really scary about this. Some people legitimately get upset over that. And that really always surprises me. But the thing is that, are they really ashamed of where they came from? I mean, what is the reasoning behind it? Is there some other deeply rooted thing that's going on in there? And for those that are listening to the audio version of this, what you see in the background there is actually a bunch of flags. You'll notice the BLM flag. You'll notice the rainbow flag. Really just showcasing that this isn't just about race either. It's so much further than that. It's supporting the BLM organization, which has ripped off $90 million worth of money from black neighborhoods. Pretty much anyone that's black. I don't know any of that money that's gone to anybody that's been of any use at all. But you also see that they're sticking this right in there in the same circle with the pride thing. It never was just about racial equity and stuff, because you have to go along with the pride stuff too. It's not just one thing. And this lady's also wearing a hoodie that says, "Dear Black women, thank you for saving America." I have no idea what that's even supposed to mean. What do they save? I'm really curious about that. I have no idea what this means. I've never seen this statement before. If somebody has seen this, let me know. But I have no idea what that's supposed to be about. The fact is, and the one thing that they're going to deny in this book, the one thing that they're not going to tell kids in any of these books, okay, the one thing that you're seeing being stripped from education across the board, all the way from pre-K to well into college years, is that hard work and determination can help you be successful. That's the one thing that they're not teaching in all of this material. That's the one thing that you're going to see repeatedly stripped away from everything. Because when you have CRT in place everywhere, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you're doing bad. It's not your fault that you're failing these grades in these classes. It's something else. It's the system keeping you down, you see. It's clearly not your problem. It's the school's problem. And it's up to government to give you a helping hand to fix that. We look at affirmative action. That's basically what this is coming out of. This really validates affirmative action. It's a kind of a precursor of teaching them straight into affirmative action to say, well, that's the validation behind it, guys. That's why affirmative action exists, because clearly black people, Hispanic people, or other minorities wouldn't be able to get ahead if it wasn't for that, except for the Asians that are doing better than any other racial category at Harvard and at Yale, to the point, by the way, that they actually had to make their test scores, or at least the benchmark for them to get into the school, way higher because they didn't want so many Asians on the campus there. Could it be that maybe their families value education a lot more than just everyone else? Like, can we just be honest about the facts here instead of trying to pin this down to being some systemic problem? If you want change, it happens in the culture, it happens in the family, it happens in teaching the facts behind the situation. But the people that are learning this, that believe this, are doomed to fail. They'll never get out of these systems, or whatever they want to call them, because they'll already be stuck. They're permanently stuck in this mindset that it's someone else's fault. And the left-wing people have continuously pushed this over and over again. You just watched a clip from The William Hall Show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.